be a bright spot. You never know when a smile, compliment, or kind word can change a person's day. Good afternoon, and welcome to Bright Spot, a virtual discussion bringing you a daily dose of inspiration while normalizing conversations about mental health and substance use disorders, presented by CNS Healthcare. I am your host, Nancy Gandolo, Chief Marketing and Outreach Officer. Before we start today, we want everyone to know your mental health matters and it is okay to not be okay. Our winner from last week's survey is Beth. Congratulations, Beth, and thank you for watching. We will be emailing you your gift card. Joining us today is Amy Stern, Program Manager at CNS Healthcare. She will be talking about women's self-care. Amy is a licensed master social worker and a graduate of the University of Michigan School of Social Work. She has been employed with CNS Healthcare since 2004, and she currently oversees the CNS Healthcare Behavioral Health Home, Zero Suicide Initiative, Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic Services, individual placements and supports, clubhouses, and clinical student internships. She's a busy gal. Amy is coming to you live from a health and wellness event at Boss Blue in Detroit, speaking to a group on women's self-care. From a young age, girls are taught that their primary role in society is to care for others. What sometimes gets lost in that message, however, is the need to also care for oneself. Join us as we talk about the elements of life that impact the mental health of women and discuss ways in which we can safeguard and nourish our own health and wellness. Let's turn to Amy.
Our discussion today, we are going to talk a little bit about some gender expectations, kind of what we're taught about what it means to be girls and women and how that plays out as we kind of go through our days and assess our needs and figure out how to take care of ourselves. We're also going to talk about barriers to self-care because self-care is not an easy thing. And then take a little bit of time to just sort of have a few moments for yourself to kind of brainstorm things that you might be able to do, kind of walk out with a little bit of a plan for ways that you can help kind of manage stress and care for yourself. I tend to be pretty informal when speaking, so please don't hesitate if you have questions or comments, feel free, just let me know. I want to make sure that this is meeting your needs, so if you have questions or anything you're hoping we touch on, then feel free to just let me know. So I want to take a moment, and you can kind of think about this or even talk at your table for just a few minutes about if you stop and think about what you were taught when you were little about what it meant to be a girl or to be a woman, and then we'll sort of come back and talk about that. So you can think about yourself, or you can have more of a conversation. People are going to have there's going to be some different things and also some similarities that are going to run through. So just take a few minutes, talk about that, and then we'll come back and discuss. All right, we can bring it back. I hate to stop the discussion because it sounds like it was good. I also wanted to take a moment and just say hi. We have people watching us online. We are streaming live on Facebook. So thank you for joining us. To those of you who couldn't be here in person, we hope this is helpful and interesting for you as well. So what did people talk about? What would people like to share? What were you taught about what it means to be a girl? Join the Girl Scouts. So what does that mean? Like why?
So that's what you do in second grade.
Okay.
Well, after rounds.
Yes. It's actually all one thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Certain expectations based on gender.
Like what?
Well, like when I was growing up, you could be a teacher, you could be a nurse.
Okay.
My sister wanted to go to engineering school.
Okay. So what profession you could go into? Yeah, absolutely. There were certain professions that were okay for girls, for women, and certain ones where it just wasn't even. And that wasn't just taught, that was supported by the infrastructure too, right? You couldn't even necessarily, depending on what profession and what time, you couldn't even get into school for certain things or things like that. Sure. What else?
Keep your legs closed.
Okay.
Keep your knees together.
Both figuratively and metaphorically. Yes, absolutely.
To be polite or ladylike.
Okay, so to be polite, being polite is big, because it really, when I hear be polite, what I think is don't hurt anybody's feelings. Don't do anything that's gonna make anyone else upset, right? Being polite means smiling, nodding, going along with, not protesting, not voicing an opinion or being, agitating in any kind of way, right? What else do people learn?
No, I learned the opposite from my convention.
Okay.
This occurred to me, but I had 3 older brothers. So
Uh-huh.
by the time I came, my mom made me realize that she believed that I wasn't as safe as them. And I couldn't get myself out of lines or whatever, but I couldn't do the same things as them, which didn't really teach me to be real strong.
Yeah.
Because I fed kind of on her fear a little bit.
Sure.
She'd rather see me get married in my case at 20
Uh-huh.
than go off to college by myself with a friend and stay in an apartment because she thought that was safer with them.
Sure.
And so that was kind of the old thinking too in a way.
Yeah, it's not even that old. I'll tell you, I taught at U of M in the school of social work for 7 years. And I was teaching, 23-year-olds just fresh out of undergrad. And they said the same thing. I mean, so many students, when we were talking about this, who had older brothers or even younger brothers, that there was this thing in their family that the brothers could do more. They could be out for later and longer. They could, parents sort of question their activities less, or they were more permissive of whatever it was they were doing. But with girls, there was a lot more focus and control and making sure you're safe because, implying that you wouldn't be able to do it for yourself. Sure.
I would like to comment on what we taught culturally. I was raised in a sort of a more liberal family.
Uh-huh.
I was born in 1980, so it was like the divorce era. So
Yes.
my parents were on that, which I think got divorced. And in that, I sort of found I was always given permission from my family to be myself, that I could follow my dreams. I feel really lucky for that. But what culture taught me where success was going to be, where my value was how I looked.
Yep.
Was who my boyfriends were, how many friends I had, and not so much what I was. So I followed that path and became sort of performance. I was a dancer. I was, sort of expected that I would just be quiet but still be pretty and beautiful and put on a show. And just to comment on the Girl Scouts, to piggyback on that, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she loves to dance, and it seems that's all little girls are really, and there's sports too, I'm not saying, but the dance perfectionistic people pleasing pipeline of like these little ballerinas that then go on to be the dance competition and things like that. We just have to really consider that that's their only options that they're given. So my 9-year-old, who is not so thrilled about being in competition, she just wants to dance with and state, is leaving dance and is we're just trying to find other ways for her to tell her shorter, because this is so. Because as a dancer myself, I saw how little it got.
And that it's a really great point. I was born in 1979, so I had the same, and I have an older sister and a younger brother. And in my family, the girls it was sort of the same thing. There was no like limit in terms of what you could do or how big your dreams could be or anything like that. But I had a brother who came out like fighting and hitting and kicking and all of those things. And when my sister and I would complain to my parents, my social worker mom is appalled when I tell this story, but they would say to us, what do you think they would say to us? He's just a boy. He's just being a boy, right? He's just being a boy. He has these 2 big sisters. He has to like prove that he's a boy through, nobody got really hurt, but through violence in some way, fighting and all of these things. And we laugh about it now. But it's true, because the feminist movement did make it so that people who were born, mid-70s and up got a different message, but still there still were gendered expectations. And in some ways, they weren't necessarily more harmful, but they were just as impactful about your value being in how you look and in the relationships that you form and maintain with others. And that's really one of the biggest,
I also think it doubled down for us a little bit, right? It also said like, yes, have a career, but also please maintain a house.
Yes,
Yes,
100%.
and have a perfect home and
Yeah.
it kind of doubled down. On
Exactly.
I had sort of that. My mother and grandmother both had husbands, but both said to make sure I can take care of myself.
Mhm.
My grandmother was a phenomenal cook, farmer, the whole thing. I probably learned later because my mother could cook. That wasn't her focus for me and my sister. It was take care of yourself, meaning some kind of job, training, etc. But she did not, again, married, but that wasn't like the main thing. As a matter of fact, when I graduated and I was saying, oh, such and such is getting married right out of undergrad, she was just appalled. Is that why they went to school? I had to love. But she, her, you're not a fully formed person to go into the marriage.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of both. Like, okay, get married, but late. Yeah. So my grandmother would tease me because I was a late bride. Like, come on. So, at church, I was like, you are my hero, Ethel. She got married at 50. She was like, I didn't want you to follow like this. Yeah, different messages, but mixed messages with kind of the same.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking to my sister-in-law last night about that you can't really have it all. You can, but you will be exhausted, right? To work full time and to have children. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I work more than 40 hours a week. And right, it's just running here and running there and a million things to do. And I want my house to not be gross. And I want to get to talk to my husband every once in a while. And right, all of those things. It's a lot. So it did double down because it opened up more, but it didn't take anything away. Right. And it also, one thing that did not happen with the feminist movement and changes for women is that the messages that we give to boys and men really have not necessarily changed. There are more parents raising boys with more of an egalitarian type message. But in general for boys, we start expecting them to act like men starting at around the age of 3, which is really little. At a 3-year-old, it's really little. Karen's like, yup, I got one of those. That's really little. And 3 for boys, we stop being real tolerant of their crying, wanting their mommy, having a stuffy that they love. being super emotional, playing with dolls, putting on dresses, all of that stuff for little boys at 3. Girls, for the most part, we get through until adolescence. Does everybody in here shudder when you think of your adolescence? Shudder when I think of my adolescence. I had a professor in college who said the definition of pure evil is a group of 6th grade girls. And I fully believe it, because starting with adolescence for girls is when, little girls can run around and play in the dirt and all of those things. And then as they start reaching puberty and their body starts to become something different in society, our expectations of them in society change. This is going to be different everywhere you go. The actual expectations themselves are geographically driven and culturally driven, racially driven and ethnically driven. Everything is going to influence it, but what is the same is that there are expectations that get pretty deeply ingrained in each of us and really play a role in what we do. And so then as we're talking about what we're doing and talking about what we were taught, one of the things, and it didn't come up, but one of the things that's very widely taught is the gender binary, that, and people mentioned a couple times, that you should marry, who your boyfriends are, or yes, have a husband, right? That we're very much taught about a binary. We're taught shoulds. I love the you don't should on yourself. Like we really are. We are taught what we should do. For the most part, there's exceptions to this in every family in every way. Maybe you were taught you should do some things, but other things you were left free, and that's great, wonderful. There's nothing, and none of this is good or bad. It just is, and it's just about being aware of it so that we can understand how it might be impacting us when we get to a place of feeling overly stressed or like we aren't able to care for ourselves. I should say that we're taught to pay attention, not pay attention, sorry, to others' thoughts and perceptions. Very much so. What we are taught as girls into adolescence is that much of our value is in how others perceive us. It's not about what we think about ourselves. We're actually oftentimes taught to kind of humble that a little bit. If we think we're awesome, we're not supposed to say it out loud because it might make other people feel uncomfortable. And we should pay a lot of attention to how what we do makes other people feel. We are taught to sacrifice ourselves for our relationships in lots of different ways. We are definitely taught appearance standards, and these standards are different everywhere, but there still are standards. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I was in high school with like Seattle grunge, and I always say I was really grateful that like we wore flannels and baggy jeans, because today, my God, my teenage nieces, they're like naked basically half the time. I mean, but there are standards, and genetics, if nothing else, keep people from being able to fit in those standards sometimes. Like it's not necessarily if you work harder, you'll be able to fit what everybody wants you to be. It's just sometimes how we're built. One of the most important things that we are taught, and we sort of touched on this, but we are taught that our value lies outside of us. In some way, shape, or form. We might be taught that some of our value lies inside of us, but if we got all of these other messages, we are also taught that our value lies in how others are perceiving us, how we appear to others, how attractive people are to us, how entertaining we are, how much of like a perfect hostess we are, or it's being a hostess is like one of my favorite things. I love having people over for a brunch and this and that, and I love cooking and baking and setting up my house and all of these things. And for the last 2 years with COVID, we didn't do that like at all. And so yesterday for Mother's Day, I had some family over for brunch for like the first time in forever. And I was like riding high. I love doing it, like it does. I enjoy it, it fills me up, all of these things, but I also really love that everybody liked everything that I made, and that my house looked really nice, and that I decorated it cute, and that everybody would enjoy it, like all of that. That's not a bad thing. It's not. But I can tell you that not being able to do that over the last 2 years, I was missing like a part of how I value myself and where I find some of my strength and skill and all of those things. Not just about the fact that I, pandemic parented 2 very small children while working full time. I should probably find some value in that. But so much of what we're taught as girls and women is that what's outside is what's most important. And where that comes into play and where that starts to become an issue in lots of ways is we're talking about self-care, it becomes an issue because self-care necessitates that we put ourselves first. And the vast majority of what we are taught about being girls and women is that we do not put ourselves first, that it's selfish, that we have to take care of other people before we take care of ourselves, all of these things. And so self-care then becomes a really difficult, it can be a really difficult thing. So stopping and thinking for a few minutes, and again, you can talk out loud or you can just think to yourself if it's not something you feel like sharing, but just thinking about where you find your value, and it's likely in lots of different ways and places, but just thinking a little bit about that, and then we'll take a couple minutes and then come back.
And then I get a lot of time right now.
Well, what I've done We can come back. All right, so let's bring it back. Sorry to disrupt. I hate disrupting your conversation. So what did you guys talk about? Where do you find your value? Value is
Productivity.
We only work for our work. If we haven't gotten enough work done, we don't deserve that. We don't deserve to put our feet up. We find our value in how good our business is doing, how clean our house is, and how productive we've been that day, and only then do we get to reward ourselves for being good girls.
No, I think I'm tired of thinking that.
But also,
I'm saying too that it's not about my title, but whatever I find myself in, I try to really do well, be self-happy. But yeah, I'm taking it.
Now, for me, it was very difficult, only as of late, I figured out it's okay to take a nap, because I was not productive. So that I've had to like work through, to take a
Yeah.
nap. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Yeah, so,
Yeah, so for people online, if they can't hear, we're talking about that there's value in how productive we can be, how much we can do, and that if we aren't productive, then we don't essentially get to take care of ourselves. We don't get to respond to our needs of being tired, or my boss is in the room, so she might not be happy to hear this, but I literally fell asleep at my desk on Saturday night, like around midnight.
Why were you working at Saturday?
You know why I was working Saturday midnight. But it's like a thing, you know what I mean? And I happen to be, my husband will work until forever and ever, like he wouldn't stop if I didn't insist that we go to sleep finally. So like that doesn't necessarily help. But it's what we do, right? Like I should have gone to bed. But
I make myself feel,
make
if
yourself
I
feel.
read 2 more chapters, then I gotta go back to that rock.
Okay, so you're like bartering.
Then I can sit for.
So if you take care of yourself and do something you enjoy, you can do it a little bit, but then I'm gonna make up for it. I'm gonna make up for taking care of myself and doing something I enjoy. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense when we stop and think about, right, all of the things that we've been taught. Because we aren't really taught to take care of ourselves. And a lot of the times, and we'll talk about this later, but a lot of the times when we are taught about self-care, it's like very specific. What self-care is, what it means, what it looks like, how you do it. We'll talk about that in a minute. I have to be honest, when I hear self-care, to me, it's just another thing I don't do very well at. Like it feels like another thing I can't quite check the box on.
Don't
And
you
a
think
long list of
this
things.
generation has figured that out? Because I'll be on the phone with my stepdaughter and she'll be saying, I got massaged around my facial. I mean, they got it. I mean, I believe they do more self-care than we ever did.
There's definitely generational differences, but I have teenage nieces, and the amount of their value that is placed in social media appearance and all of that far almost outweighs so they do those things. You know, we also then can get into conversations about, can they afford to do those things, and how accessible are they, and if you can't afford to do it, doesn't mean you don't get to take care of yourself. And I mean, there's just so much to it, but there's definitely, it is as we go and as newer generations are parenting children, there are different messages being sent, without a doubt. My mom, who's like a baby boomer, always says that she thinks millennials are actually gonna like save the world, because they're sort of the first generation that's really teaching their children that like they are special and they are important because they're human and they get to listen to themselves and feed their worth and all of these things. We're seeing how that plays out now, where like the generations are kind of at odds, and it's not always how our workplaces are designed and stuff like that. We're living in what is it? We're living in the next generation's interesting part of history, right? So like as all of these things are playing out, you know, hopefully we'll get to see where some of it lies. But I agree. Younger generations are being taught different things, but they're still being taught. This is what I studied in undergrad and grad school. This was like the whole focus of my grad school. And my daughter, I've noticed lately, every time I see her, I say, and I mean, she will be president someday. She is a force in her teeny little 30-pound body to be reckoned with. But every time I see her lately, I say, hi, pretty girl. And like I cringe, but she's beautiful, but like that's not how I want her to first think of herself, like at all. I mean, and it's not in anything else I do, but it's just so deeply ingrained. And I do look at her and think that she's just this most beautiful human ever and all of these things, but it's not, you know, so things are changing. And you know, her whole room is filled with like empowered women quotes, but they're surrounded by flowers, right? Like, so it's still couched in these with pink walls, these like ideas of femininity that I was raised with, even though like my parents thought they were doing better than and they probably did do better than their parents did, but it's absolutely generational. And what's important just to sort of pay attention to is as we are finding the need to take care of ourselves, we can't really take care of ourselves if we aren't valuing our own humanity. and I don't know, we didn't get a chance to talk to all of the tables, but it's pretty rare that people say they find their value in being human, like in being a human being on the earth, and that alone makes them valuable. That's pretty rare. It's not usually an answer that I hear, because it's not usually what we're taught. So really thinking about that. So why is self-care necessary? I don't think we really need to drive this point home. I think we probably all know, except it's without a doubt sometimes the very first thing that gets pushed to the side when we don't feel like we have time. Burnout, secondary trauma, being traumatized by what's going on around us or by other people's traumas, depending on our profession or what we're doing, or just all of the stuff in the world all the time. It is real. Like, it's very real. In the social work profession, we talk about this all the time. You talk about burnout, and I was always like, yeah, burnout, sure, it happens, right? It's hard. We have hard jobs, right? And then, 2 years into a pandemic, like, yeah, it is. It's really real, and it's really, 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 really impactful. We have to preserve our own mental health. We have to do it. It's another thing on our plates, but we have to take care of ourselves. All of the cliches, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to put your mask on first before you can assist others. They're cliche, but that's because it's actually true. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. If you have nothing left to give, then there's nothing to give. And really the only way that we have more to give is by helping to replenish our own cups, whatever that looks like. I have on here this idea of the super mom. I don't know if any of you are as irked by that as I am. My husband says it all the time, and he means it like with the best, most like admirable, in awe of all that I can do, except I did not request I don't want to be a super mom. I just want to be like a mom. I want it to never want to be okay if I'm not a super mom. Like, if the kids are alive and fed and that's good enough, it's okay. If like the house is made and maybe I didn't do what I was supposed to do otherwise, or we're having mac and cheese for dinner again, or whatever. Super mom, it's a lot. It's a lot to hold on to, and it's from that idea that you can have it all. But it really does require sometimes like superhuman effort beyond what we can kind of logically give. So self-care is necessary, but it's easier said than done. There's obviously barriers to it. Time, really, finding the time for self-care, it's not easy to do depending on what else you got going on. My sister has teenagers, and she's always talking about how her kids, like, they don't want to hang out with me anymore. They don't, they're all off to be troubling. And I'm like, oh. I watched Spidey and His Amazing Friends for 3 hours yesterday. I don't know what that's like. But it's true. Time, it's not easy. It's really, really hard to find the time to take care of ourselves. Whatever is expected of us or demanded on us, self-care is usually not wrapped into that. If we were taught, really, men and women, boys, everybody, if everybody was taught to value themselves as human, then self-care would be a priority across the spectrum. Everybody would be expected to care for themselves because everybody would be seen as a valuable entity simply because they're here. But that's not the case. The other thing is that because we have been taught to sacrifice ourselves for others, we can feel really guilty or really selfish for taking time that we want or need for ourselves. I love to get my nails done. It like brings me actual joy to have my nails done, but I have to and my husband would be happy to work with me around like watching the kids and all of that to make sure that I can go get my nails done. But in my head, I'm like, so they have this and they can be occupied over here and this, and I have like 45 minutes and I can like go get my nails done so that I can be happy, right? It's like this thing, and it's imposed on myself. It's not like my husband's not there like, you're leaving the house, like that's not happening. It's totally of my own making, my own feelings of guilt and being selfish, and what about that. The other thing, not necessarily believing that we get to, not thinking self-care is something that we are deserving of, for lots of different reasons. We all have I don't get to something ideas. Many people have sort of beliefs around that, but we have to think that we get to feel good. We get to respond to our needs. We get to know our needs. We get to acknowledge that something isn't working and we need something to be different. All of that really has to be there for us to take the time we need to care for ourselves. The other thing, and we touched on this briefly a moment ago, is not really knowing what self-care is. Like, what does that actually mean? And what does that look like? What, if I were to care for myself, what does that mean? The media and society and all of these other places want us to think that self-care is massages and mani-pedis, which are lovely, and sleeping. Sleeping is important for self-care, meditation, exercise, journaling, wine. Yoga. I mean, all of those things sound lovely, right? But first of all, that might not be what actually helps to rejuvenate you and to recharge your batteries. Like at all. I love getting my nails done, but it is not a relaxing process for me. The whole time I'm like, oh, I hope they do a good job, and I hope it stays for a long time, and I hope the color turns out how I want it to. When I'm done, I'm really happy that I have done nails. But like the process of getting it done,
No.
there's no enjoyment to be had there whatsoever. We think that if these things aren't doing it for us, then we must not be doing a good job of caring for ourselves, or there must be something wrong with us that I don't feel rejuvenated. If I get a massage, I spend the whole time like worried about, I don't even know what, like what if I get like too hot, or what if I get cold, what if they don't, what if it doesn't go, what if it, I mean, like, it's not relaxing. I know I make myself sound crazy, but it's true. Like, it's not, my mom thinks that like a hot bath will cure all that ails you. I can't stand taking a bath. Like, the water gets cold and then you're wet and then you have to shower anyway, because like the bubbles, and there's nothing about that that's relaxing to me. But she will always, I mean, my whole life, oh, you don't feel like you should take a bath. Oh, you're upset, you should take a bath. I don't want to take a bath. Tell me to take a bath.
Green wine and candles and music.
I did that when I was like single and I lived on my own. I was like, oh, I'm gonna take a bath with candles and wine. And I was just like, water's cold. Just doesn't, I think, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be my thing. But self-care is about assessing what you need and then responding to it. It's not just about like check the boxes. Exercise, absolutely, that's great. I wake up at 5:15 in the morning so I can get that done before my day starts. Get your nails done, journal, it's super helpful. Meditation, yoga, they're wonderful. But it's not necessarily like the key to self-care. And also there's a whole world of other things that are involved in taking care of ourselves and protecting our own mental health and all of that stuff. So really thinking about what sounds good to us. So have people heard of it's like love languages. Love languages, people heard love languages. So this is sort of like self-care love languages. Really thinking about the whole variety of things that go into taking care of ourselves. It's not just yoga and wine and pedicures. It's about, I mean, you can see, we have to take care of ourselves physically. And then it's like, well, that's overwhelming. That's a whole lot more work I need to do to take care of myself in all of these realms. We don't have to do it all every day. We don't have to do it all every month. The goal is to recognize when we have a need in one of those areas and then do what we can do to respond to it so that we feel cared for in whatever way that makes sense for us. Some of us are going to feel more cared for, like we've cared for ourselves more effectively in different categories. Great. I love to clean my house. Like it gives me, I cleaned out my refrigerator yesterday. It was like the best part of Mother's Day. I was so, other than most things, that's good too. But it made me so happy to like clean things out and throw things away. And just when you open the fridge, it's so like nice and airy inside. I love that. Other people are like, what is wrong with her? That sounds awful. Finding what sounds good to you. You're with me? I know. I mean, yes, right there. right there with that. Meditation though, for me, I mean, I can't for half a second, like, have no thought or not judge my thought, because then I think, oh, I'm not doing this right. I shouldn't be thinking this. Oh, I had that thought. What I do? Oh, okay. Well, now I'm off on that tangent about whatever thought just came through my head, and there goes my 5 minutes, and now my kids are not handed up. Okay, that was great. Thanks. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. So we have to find what works for us and really think about what our self-care language is. Where do we feel most cared for, and how can we set things up so that we can fill that up a little bit every once in a while? For humans, all human beings, in order to manage stress, which is really what self-care is about in some way, in order to manage stress, we have to feel full in 3 different areas of life. So we have to feel like we are part of a community. We have to feel like we belong somewhere. We have to feel like we are cared for and that we care for others. This is an important part of feeling okay and feeling good. We also have to feel productive, having a sense of purpose and meaning in our daily life or whatever it is, what our goals are, taking care of our own well-being, taking care of the well-being of others. This does not have to be like work, school, significant volunteering commitments. Productivity can be that you like make your bed and you eat breakfast, right? Brushing your teeth in the morning, check the productivity box, like all of those things. It doesn't have to be these like great big things that also sometimes can cause some stress. It's about, did I feed my body today? Did I clean my body today? Did I make my environment somewhere that felt good to me? That, all of that falls under the productivity category. And relaxation. We have to have things that we like to do, fun, voluntary activities that recharge our batteries. These 3 categories sounds easy enough. Not necessarily always so easy. Sometimes productivity, especially if we have a big thing that kind of takes up a lot of space there, whether it be a job or volunteering or school or whatever it is, that can sometimes cause stress. Community can sometimes cause stress, right? Family's not always like super carefree without any complications. All of those things. With the pandemic in the last 2 years, a lot of this stuff became inaccessible in some way, shape, or form. The things we used to do for fun or the communities we were a part of, we couldn't necessarily access it. And so for a lot of people, the infrastructure that we built up to kind of help us get through our daily life, it fell away in some ways. And we're at a place where some of it is hopefully coming back, but maybe some things aren't, or things are different. It's important to have as many different things as you can in these categories, because at any given time, they may or may not be available to us. If, watching TV is one of my relaxation things, that's great. But if I'm working, I shouldn't really just be also watching TV. Like, that's not a great thing. I can work from home now, so nobody would really know, but it's not gonna lend itself to my productivity. Having lots of things that in different, whatever our different environments are, different relationships are, different settings, having different things that we have there that we can go to, because struggle is real, stress is real. The stress is always going to be there. People think that stress management means there's no stress. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Stress is always going to be there. It's how we respond to it that helps us feel like it's been managed. We can't get rid of the stress, but we can respond to it. So then thinking about and taking a few minutes, and then we'll have some time for questions, but what sounds good to you in terms of self-care? We can fill in the categories, kind of think for yourself in terms of these categories or the different love languages, but just really thinking about and being able to walk away with even like a couple of ideas of things that might feel good, it might help you feel cared for, that are really about what you need and what's best for you, and not just about your mom, so you should drink wine or whatever it is. But really just kind of thinking about it for a few minutes, and we can take a couple minutes and talk about it, and you can take some time to yourself too, but wanting to be able to really walk out with an idea. It's nice to sit and listen and all of that, but it's also nice to walk away with some concrete stuff. So take just a couple minutes, and then if people have questions or comments, we can take those.
Yeah, self-care. I Sure. You know, and I think. All right, let's bring it back. Every time I hate disrupting your conversation. So did anybody come up with anything that they are gonna? Yes, Nancy, she's very excited to share. Saying no, that is such an important one. It is, no period. It is, saying no is one of the things that we are, first of all, not taught, right? This is fucking your list. And it was said at the beginning, I'm just going back to the first one. But it's also, I mean, we are supposed to, right, if somebody needs something from us, because we're supposed to put the relationships ahead of our own needs, saying no is not easy, but it is so important. So important. Yeah. Yeah.
While you're doing X, Y, and Z, that was with their kids and their families.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. What else? Anybody else?
You wanna play,
You want to play?
you wanna play a sport, you wanna play with friends, you don't need, not really do play, we just wanna play.
Yeah. Especially on these beautiful days.
We're gonna start now.
I know. It sounds so good.
I was talking about a trauma workshop that I had the pleasure of going to a couple of weeks ago. And the presenter was talking about rest. And like I told
table, she said, like, you know, turn the podcast off on the way home. And I was like, what kind of monster would say something? But I did it, and it's amazing. And it's like, you know, my 12-minute commute, right, from work, but just that kind of silent moment, like the rest from like the constant, like listening, it's music on, it's news, it's people around you, it's family, you know, like just that like silent time.
That's awesome.
And we, a couple of other folks, yes, simple. That's from the ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That's something that someone recently told me, but I think when you want to make changes that you limiting or taking away things, and she said, don't. She said, just find things that bring you joy, and the things that don't serve you will go away on their own.
Yeah,
And I was like, mind-boggling.
I know.
I was like, really?
I know, it's like revolutionary, right? Yeah, it is so simple. Finding things that bring you joy and filling your time with that, and the rest.
And I was thinking too, like, we shouldn't have to feel guilty or shouldn't be made to feel guilty about the things that you enjoy. Like, I remember feeling so ashamed about loving like really, really cheesy romantic comedies. And I always feeling like, oh, I have to hide that, right? I shouldn't do that. And now I'm like, yeah, I like bad movies. It's okay. And being able to be okay with who you are and what fits your personality. And who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, because what's most important is how you feel about you and not how everybody else sees you or thinks about what you do or whatever it is. Absolutely.
The chef that was bringing out the breakfast and stuff, and he was excellent, so we were, you know, explaining the food, and it goes to what you just said. And, so some of our comments about, well, this would be good with that and that, and after a while, he was young, he looked at us and said, I love that for you. That is the best response to someone who says, I don't like those movies, or I wouldn't watch those movies, or blah, 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 and say.
Channel your inner Alexis Rose.
Yes.
I love that journey for you. Absolutely. But you have to be, I mean, not to like get too deep, you have to be okay enough with yourself to be able to respond to somebody like that, right? You have to feel secure enough in your own, whatever it is, to be able to not think to yourself, oh, wow, they think it should be this or that, or it should have been different, or I didn't do a good job, or they didn't like it, but to say, I love that for you.
Well, I mean, I was saying that, you know, there's some weekends where I do nothing.
Yeah.
And we'll come back, well, how, do you have a good weekend? Yes, what did you do? Nothing. And some people did nothing, and it was wonderful. I'm not ashamed of it.
Nothing is good.
Yes.
I think one thing you said that's really important is like checking in with yourself and asking yourself, what do I need right now? Because sometimes you can look at your calendar and say, like, okay, Saturday, I'm gonna do gardening and I'm gonna be out there. But then it comes around and you might not have the energy or you might not feel like it. You might wanna just relax with your kids inside and, you know, or it's the flip flop, you think you wanna relax and you wake up and you really have this energy. Like you have to ask yourself, what do I need right now?
And also, it's Monday, so what can I do between now and Saturday, right? Like, what do I need right now? And obviously, in the middle of a weekday, we might not be able to just go out and garden or whatever it is, but what can I do? Can I turn the radio off? Can I, you know what I mean? Can I get something I really enjoy for lunch? Like, what can I do right now that would help me to feel good and cared for? And really thinking about it. Any other thoughts or questions?
But one thing I just wanted, first, well done.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Important conversations to be having and to be evolving and to be part of. One thing I wanted to contribute was just how self-care does not happen in isolation. It really isn't about the singular I self. It's kind of the uppercase self, right? It's sort of our larger, higher self, so whether it's faith-based or community and friendship-based or earth-based, just to be in rhythm with something bigger than just our sweet little lowercase s selves. We're sweet, but we're no special snowflakes. We're all there's a billion of us on, many billions of us at this point. And so I think taking the pressure off of self, and if we really, self-care really has to be community. And that leads me into what I think is very challenging, which is asking for help. And understanding that there is no shame in asking for help, that there is no shame in your vulnerability, bringing the great Dr. Vinnie Brown. But just to, you know, and that's, I say it, but it's certainly not easy for me. I was hosted Mother's Day too, and I had a great day organizing my garden in the house and cooking a great meal that I was really looking forward to eating, but then the guests showed up. And I was just, I couldn't talk. I was in such a sad place, and I pretended I had a migraine, and I headed upstairs and basically swallowed myself in my bed for 3 hours while I ate and enjoyed. But that's just because I couldn't ask for help. So I just wanted to, if that helps anyone else in here, you know, we don't have to have it all together so that we can have something. It's such a perpetual vicious cycle of not knowing how to be messy. And I was saying in here, like, messy, you can't really come to my house if it's messy. You know, you're my friend, you really can come into my house if it's messy. But it's the same thing with our hearts, you know, like we have messy hearts too, and it can be really hard to let people into our messy heart. So, for what it's worth.
The hardest thing, and it's all, thank you for saying all that, it's all rooted in, if we believe that we have value as a human being, then our messiness isn't so scary, it isn't so vulnerable. But because we think that our value lies in all of these external things, mess is threatening, it's terrifying.
So were you playing? What's that? Were you playing?
Oh, to say that? We have never met before. Any other questions or thoughts?
About a year ago, I decided that for decades I've been cleaning, and I don't like it anymore. So I hired a company to come once a month. And it's funny when you tell people that, okay, because I have friends, I don't trust anyone to do that. They don't do it as good as me, you know, because their
Yeah.
value lies in the fact that mine doesn't, you know, and so again, I'm happy now for you. But the thing is, it made me realize that, oh yeah, I could probably do it better, but I'm.
Thank you for joining us today for Bright Spot, CNS Healthcare's new virtual show. We hope you will mark your calendars and continue to join us on Mondays at noon, where we'll discuss feelings, struggles, and finding one's way. As a reminder, if you have a topic you want to hear discussed, please drop it in the chat or comment on this video. Each week, we will select one winner for a $25 Amazon gift card and announce it the following week on Bright Spot. So please take the time to fill out our 2-question survey that is linked in the chat now. Before I sign off, I just want to remind everyone to be a bright spot. You never know when a smile, compliment, or kind word can change a person's day. Until next time, have a great week.